All right, welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. Sad story, but there's a twist to this story that you might want to hear. You know, they say you never see smoke without fire. Well, pay attention closely, because all ain't what it seems. Now, in an effort to not vilify anybody or to not dirty up anybody's, soil anybody's character, or to not disrespect the dead, we will go ahead and use the word allegedly quite a few times throughout this video. All right, pay attention. Jamaican-born pediatrician Bruce Maurice Henry found dead in New York. The story says that the body of the Jamaican-born pediatrician was found in a park in New York. We're going to get into the details. I just want you to know what we're about to speak about. He was found Friday, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, on the stairways near 125th Street in the Marcus Garvey Park. He was 60 years old. All right. When we are done talking, you will understand what this is about. For those of you who want to know what his connection is to Jamaica, he was born in Hanover, in Jamaica, and he migrated to the United States where he obtained his medical degree in 1987. So yes, he is a Jamaican. He was born in Jamaica, on the island of Jamaica. Now let's get to the whole story. This is where you fix a drink, you pull up, and things are about to get a bit sensational. Okay, shout out to the New York Post. Doctor found with throat slashed in New York's park, ID'd as Bruce Morris Henry. A pediatrician was found with his throat slashed in a Manhattan park, was seen driving his car out of his Bronx apartment building garage just hours before his gruesome demise. A shocked, longtime resident said the body of doomed Dr. Bruce Morris Henry, who is 60, was found early Friday on a stairway near 125th Street in Marcus Garvey Park around 2:15 a.m. Cops and sources said, in addition to having his throat cut, the physician had been stabbed multiple times, sources said. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The motive for the killing was unclear at the time of this article, the cops said, who noted that they don't know why. Why? Why Henry, who would have celebrated his 61st birthday just a few days after his murder, was in the park at the time of his passing. This is weird hours at the park, and I want you to pay attention to what I just said. The cops said they don't know why he would be in the park at this time. And, this is weird hours for the park. At Henry's Spoyton Doyville building, a sense of horror had replaced the holiday cheers. Everybody in his building knew him. He was not just any regular old doctor. He was a seasoned pediatrician that practiced for over 20 years. He also mentored other young doctors on how to properly be a doctor. So he was also a professor teacher of sorts, and amongst those other things. We'll get into all his accolades and all that other stuff, but keep attention on the fact that the park is very sketchy after certain hours, and pretty much everybody knows to not be in that park around that time, especially if you're a single person walking through. We're talking about 2:15 a.m. Okay? 2:15 a.m. Keep that in your mind while I go through the rest of this. That was him? One of the residents said, that was him? Oh, I have known him for a long time. It's got to be 10 years or maybe even more, one of the residents at his building said. Since I'd known him, everything was all good. That's kind of rough. Wow. Cops came on Friday to ask if Henry lived at the address, and workers told them that they saw him a day earlier. Henry was casually dressed as he drove out of the garage, recalled a resident, who noted that Henry had been living alone. He's a 60-year-old man. He didn't have a woman. He didn't have a family. He had been living alone. Henry also said that Henry worked long hours at the hospital and was always traveling. Now, maybe he was dating a lot. I don't know. I've seen pictures of him with women. I don't know if they were platonic relationships, friends, or intimate relationships, but he chose to just have multiple partners. Some successful men who are up in age kind of do that. They don't want to be married. They prefer to date, and they are successful, so it's not a problem. You know, they have a couple of women that they have relations with. However, we're not getting into that yet. Just keep in mind that it's 2:15 in the morning in this Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem, up in New York, right? And everybody knows that the park is sketchy as hell. I'm going to tell you what goes on in the park around that time of morning and why this doctor might have been there. Okay, so as we drag the story along, it is noted that he did work odd hours and long hours at the hospital. He worked at multiple hospitals. Some of his co-workers, nobody has anything bad to say about him. Everybody spoke about how generous he was, how kind he was, how he treated the patients of the pediatric population like superstars and like glorified human beings. And he was just a beautiful person inside out, and somebody that was fun to work with, somebody that they could learn a lot from, somebody that was definitely a team player and, you know, got the job done kind of person. All right, all good and fine. Every now and then the residents would see Henry with visitors, but they did not know if they were friends or colleagues or whatever they were. So people would visit his apartment, and of course that's normal. You would bring your friends over if you're having an affair or if you're with somebody. It doesn't matter. You had people come over to visit, right? No red flags were thrown. He lived there for quite a number of years. Everybody in his building knew him, all that kind of stuff. There were times like he was working at the hospital. He'll come driving in like real early in the morning, and I've seen him walk into the garage with his hospital gear and stuff on, one resident said. Henry was known for being cordial and for handing out holiday cards to workers. So it sucks. It really does. Nobody wants to hear stuff like this around any holiday, especially Christmas, the resident said. And mind you, this was like right around the corner from his 61st birthday. Nobody deserves to die like that, especially not him. This person who did this is a sicko, man. This person needs to be caught. He was confident that the killer would be caught, and the killer was caught, allegedly. This person or group of persons that did this to him, they're going to get them. One resident said, they're going to nab them. They have cameras everywhere, all over the place. There are lots of places in the park where there are no cameras, though. Henry was a pediatric emergency medicine physician in the Bronx, and he is affiliated with Children's Hospital New Orleans as well as Nyack Hospital. He received his medical degree from SUNY Upstate Medical University, and he had been in practice for more than 20 years. Let that sink in. All right, now let's talk about the park, and let's talk about who was arrested. So, New York Times did a follow-up to this story, and it says that the man that was arrested in a 2 fatal stabbings during a 4-day spree in Manhattan. The victim of the Christmas week attacks included a doctor in a Harlem park and a man that was walking in the East Village. Now, when this broke, a lot of people thought, maybe this guy was just crazy in his head and he just went on a stabbing spree and he was just stabbing up random people, because that is how it was brought across in the news. Keep on paying attention. Remember, hours in the park, 2:15 a.m. A 35-year-old Harlem man accused of killing 2 people and stabbing 2 others in a 4-day crime spree were arrested Christmas Eve after he was stopped while driving a Mercedes-Benz that belonged to his final victim, is what the police said. The man was identified as Roland Codrington, and he was charged with 2 counts of murder and other crimes. He has 12 prior arrests over more than a decade, including assault and robbery with a knife, the same type of weapon he is accused of wielding in 3 separate attacks starting on December 19th, said the New York Police Department. The owner of the Mercedes-Benz was identified as Bruce Maurice Henry. So not only did he kill the Jamaican doctor, he took his Mercedes-Benz. Not only did he take it, he was caught driving it about 12 hours or so after the murder. The owner of the Mercedes-Benz was identified as Bruce Maurice Henry, a 60-year-old pediatrician from the Bronx. He was found stabbed to death at 2:15 a.m. on Friday inside Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem. Police later obtained a video of a man and a woman entering Dr. Henry's car near the park and began searching for the vehicle. So are you walking with this story so far? That means he parked his car, his Mercedes-Benz, near the park, and then he walked into the park. There are video surveillance cameras out on the streets where he parked his Mercedes-Benz. Those videos saw the doctor getting out of his car, but those videos also saw this person and a female, later to be identified as his girlfriend, getting into the doctor's Mercedes-Benz. The crime spree that this person was on began at 1 a.m. last Monday. The police said that a 51-year-old man was also fatally slashed on the neck on Avenue A between 13th and 14th Street in East Village in Manhattan. Police said that the victim could be seen on video walking southbound on Avenue A when he was approached by a man now identified as Mr. Codrington and a woman who police said is his girlfriend, the same person who was seen entering the Mercedes-Benz of the doctor with him. Mr. Codrington and the victim argued for about 20 seconds when Mr. Codrington pulled out a knife and slashed the other man across the neck. The victim's name has not been released. So he was out here on a slashing spree, robbing spree, with his girlfriend as his sidekick by his side. Let's go back to the park. Let's talk about the park now and why the doctor was at the park. Okay, so Mr. Codrington went home. Mr. Isig said then left to take a cool walk to cool off in Friday morning when he encountered Dr. Henry in the park, stabbed him to death after an argument. Mr. Codrington was captured on video getting into Dr. Henry's car with his girlfriend, who has not been charged. I think the girlfriend should also be charged because she is also seen in other surveillance videos around the same place where he was seen on video slashing another person who did die, who also is another one of the murder charges that he has. Mr. Essex said that the police are able to connect the assailant to the slashing and the bar assault, but not to the murder of Dr. Henry until they pulled him over in Dr. Henry's Mercedes-Benz in the Bronx on Christmas Eve. We don't know if he's directly involved in the homicide in the park with the doctor, but we do know now that he was. We didn't know then, but we do know now that he was. Now, with that said, it's 2:15 in the park. I want you to hear what people have to say, right? One person says, I'm not very familiar with New York City's geography, but I'm guessing one wouldn't want to be in any park after dark. Such a tragic loss for the family, friends, and patients of Dr. Henry. Another person says, I live here, and it's not safe to walk anywhere in New York City 24/7. Another person says, you'd not even want to walk by a park after dark in New York City. You don't even want to walk by the park. Forget going into any park. You don't want to walk by the park, especially this particular park. But we He must have been familiar with that park. And now this one. AZ says, in 2003, I moved back to New York and I landed on 111th Street off CPW. It was just beginning to get gentrified, and I would go to the park often. It has some beauty to it, but it is secluded at many points. No cameras, dark areas, shady stuff going on in there. No way are you going to walk in there now, today's day and age. This was 2003. No way now are you going to walk in there. DK says, in the 90s, the UWS and Morningside Park was really bad. But we got to the point of the Clintons and the Sharptons complaining things could get better. Now that it's bad again, there will be a tipping point. And politics will play its role and people will come in and clean the park up again. Someone says there are no lights in that park either. Pardon my coughing. Someone says there are no lights in that section of the park either. And another person says, listen to this. This is where the doctor name comes in and the possibility that this is why comes in. That park is known for rough trades and for dudes on the DL to meet up. I'm not surprised at this. You should have stayed home, Doc. Happy birthday in heaven. Another person says, this sounds like you're a regular for DL activities. Another person says, I would have to agree. We have seen this story before. Someone lured through a hookup app and it turns out to be a robbery. Seems likely that if the guy was out in the park at 2 a.m., this guy must have fought back, resisted, or the robber is also a bloodthirsty lunatic. End of the day, the park is known for these activities, rough trade, and dudes on the DL. So, at 2:15 in the morning, I want you to understand that the Marcus Garvey Park where this doctor was found, and we don't want to tarnish the doctor's legacy. This has nothing to do with his legacy. This has to do with reality. Okay, at 2:15 in the morning, normal people, intelligent people like this doctor would not wander into this park. Hell, junkies and dope fiends and whatever are afraid to go into this park at that time of the morning. It's not well lit. I lived in New York for a minute, and there's another park that is pretty huge, and I was surprised. I went out for an early morning run one morning, and I came across a section of the park where all I saw, and I took note, where all I saw there were condoms used. And they would use the condoms and throw them all in the same place. It was a little rocky area with a brush of bush. I thought I was going off-road running. And I saw lots of condoms with feces and blood. Yes. So I ran past this area on another day when it was more lit. And I actually saw guys engaged in activities. I don't need to spell out what it is. It was DL behavior going on, right? And later on, as I finished my workout and I went to go stretch out on the grass and stuff, I was actually approached by one of them who so happens to also be a New York City police officer. And because I was working out in the area, he thought I was cruising for a hookup. This is where I learned all this stuff, that this goes on in the park. So humans, we have this innate thing built within us from creation. We crave intimacy. We crave lusty sex and that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so what could have happened, which a lot of people are saying they don't want to ruin the doctor's reputation, but The fact that he would be found in this park at this time, and the fact that he actually went there quite often, was what seems as if he was a regular for the DL activities that took place in the park. The guy that was caught driving the doctor's Mercedes, that guy is a prey. So that guy is not necessarily gay, or maybe he is bisexual, but he was able to lure. And this is his MO. This is how he operates. This is what he does. This is not the first person he had lured into that park and robbed them and never saw them again because they were too scared to come back to the park. But this is what he was known for doing. He was known for talking to men and having the men feel like they can get into some kind of a sexual relationship, and then things go wrong. Unfortunately for this doctor, his life was taken in the process, right? And like the police in New York said, they would have never thought that he had something to do with the murder had they not caught him driving the doctor's Mercedes Benz. So 2:15 in the morning, dark park. No one wants to be in that park. That doctor was in the middle of that park by himself. It was not a shortcut that he took. He knew better. He is very intelligent. Safety would have been the first thing on his mind. He lives in New York. He's lived there for quite some time. He is well aware of the temperature of the city as far as crime and violence goes. He knows things can go haywire in a minute if you slip up and get caught down the wrong dark alley, in the wrong park, at the wrong time, etc. Yet, he put himself in that park at that time of the morning. 2 a.m. in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, and by 2:15, his body is being discovered by the New York police. Shout out to the doctor for living an exemplary life, and it's sad that it ended this way, but wow. I hope somebody else will hear this and be aware. DL hookups in parks, and this is what this park is known for. It has a couple of sections in it that is, ask New Yorkers that live around this area, they will tell you that this is absolutely true. This park has DL hookup sections, and the park also has rough trades. This is where prostitutes take a John to go have sex for small money, get a blowjob really quickly for $20, whatever. Straggling street hookers turn tricks in this park, as well as gay guys hook up in this park and have, the rest is that. So my condolences goes out to his remaining family members, man. And like I said before, he was 60 something. He was 60, about to be 61. He had no family or relatives living with him. He was living by himself and all this other stuff. So leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one. I'll catch you on the next video. Be good. I'm out. Peace.